bless you. Welcome to day 40 of 100 Days of the Prophetic. Whenever God speaks to us, He's speaking from what He knows about the future. And when He gives us instructions, they're often sudden, they often seem spontaneous, they often seem, like, why do I have to do this now? Or, even if it doesn't necessarily seem spontaneous, it's contrary to what we may want to do sometimes and to what we feel like doing. But we have to remember always that God speaks from a futuristic place. He speaks from a place of prevention. In other words, God knows what's going to happen. He knows what's coming. He knows the possibilities. He knows the opportunities, and He also knows the pitfalls. And so what God does is He sees what's coming. He sees the path we're on. And in order to help us avoid unnecessary stress, unnecessary suffering, He'll give us some instructions that cause us to change what we're doing in the path that we're on. And so, in other words, the safest place to be is to be in the last place God told you to be. It's being in your assignment and being in your instructions that prevents you from walking in calamity that is waiting upon you. And so many of us have not really seen God's safety and protection because God hasn't really seen our obedience. And so God's instructions it's preventative, and so we have to listen. Now, when you're a leader, your decisions and your actions have more weight because your disobedience can affect people who are under your care and under your responsibility. And so what we're seeing right now in the earth with COVID-19 ultimately is a manifestation and exposure of the deafness of the ears of the leaders across the world in government, because they have not regarded the voice of the Lord. They have not listened to His instructions, and they did not prepare adequately because they were not willing to receive what the Lord was saying. Why? The Lord told me that many leaders, political leaders, who have been holding on to power, authority, have been more concerned about their political futures than being obedient to what they know is right and what they know is the best for people. They have been more concerned with keeping control than keeping people safe. And so, because it has not been politically palatable to make some decisions that the Lord has been trying to convince leaders to make for several decades now, we are seeing a lot of crisis, a lot of chaos, and people are dying because of the unwillingness of leaders to go with the voice of God. And do understand that God speaks to leaders in government, saved or unsaved. Look at Nebuchadnezzar, look at Pharaoh, look at Cyrus. If you need biblical reference, God speaks through various means. But because many leaders have not listened to what God is saying, these things are happening. Now, there are future consequences because of the deafness of the ears of many leaders. The Lord spoke to me about a few diseases. I was writing a paper on one for one of my classes about a potential outbreak, and the Lord took me into a vision and interrupted me and told me to change my topic to the disease of cholera. We're going to see a revival of cholera, which is typically preventable with proper sanitation and things like that, but we're going to see the spread of cholera. And the Lord also spoke to me about some vectorborne diseases, dengue fever, the West Nile virus. We're going to see, the Lord said, a spread of these viruses into areas where they had not traditionally been. We're going to see a spread there. This COVID-19 is not the last. COVID-19 is not the last epidemic or pandemic scale event that we're going to see across this century. And then the Lord also spoke to me, and He said, because of the things that are going to spread, new diseases are going to spread. New diseases. The Lord spoke to me about diseases that we had not seen before that are going to spread. And also, we're going to see reproductive and fertility problems among women because of the things that are going to spread during this time in the future. So, our responsibility in the body of Christ is to pray for leaders, that they would humble themselves and do what God is saying, because it can save many lives. But we're going to see more, we're going to see some things happen that we need to be prepared for and that we need to be prayerful about, that ultimately God will be glorified at the end of the day.